Yeah, no, that wasn't quite what I was expecting. Let's solder the heck out of that. I think that looks good. Oh, there we go. It's flipping phenomenal. Hello, I'm Robin Vincent and welcome to Molten Modular. Today I'm building what could possibly be the most fantastic module in my rack so far. It is the M185. Looks a bit like that. It's hard to tell what it is just from the PCBs. Now, what this is a sequencer. It doesn't sound too exciting, but this is a sequencer which was the inspiration and birthing place of the Metropolis sequencer. Now, the Metropolis sequencer from IntelliGel is one of the most well-regarded, fun, exciting, interesting, and expensive sequencers on the market. It was catapulted to kind of cult awesome status by a video done by Mylar Melodies, who just aced the thing. And what is it? Well, it's a sequencer. You got 8 sliders, or 8 knobs in this case, and it goes along 8 steps. Da, 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 da. But what's interesting about it is that you can adjust some switches and sliders that dictate how each step is gated, whether it repeats, whether it stops, how long it goes on for. And because of that, you can create, rather than just one step happening after each other in a steady rate, you can introduce all sorts of rhythms, all sorts of gaps, and it starts becoming a less common form of Eurorack and modular sequencing. Rather than just rotating steps, it creates more interesting things. Anyway, the Metropolis is a sort of Eurorack module that's far too big and expensive, really, for me to consider. It's the sort of thing I would love if somebody sent me one, but I don't think they were ever going to. So when this came along, the RYK M185, I kind of leapt on it. Leapt on it because, well, first of all, it was cheaper. Secondly, it was built by the person who designed the design that inspired the Metropolis, if that makes sense. So it's done by the original guy, plus it's in kit form and is like half the price of the Metropolis. Kind of more like in the arena of something that I could perhaps do and make an interesting video of and an interesting build of. Now, it comes on 2 PCBs. One which presumably has all the hardware on, and one which does all the thinking. So it's not a small project, but I'm hoping to have a stab at it this afternoon and get the whole thing done. That would be great. And this is part of a larger plan I have to... It's that weird thing where you're both expanding your modular, because you're obviously buying more modules constantly all the time. At the same time as trying to simplify your setup so that you have the right tools to do the right job. This is one of those tools. I've got a few sequencers. Each one is awesome in its own way, but I don't have anything quite as intentional as this. And I like the idea of being able to put in rests and be able to put in repeats and to change from one pattern to another simply, and to do those sorts of things, if that makes sense. So that interests me greatly. So let's have a look at what you get. You get this PCB, this one, and you get this one. Well, let's have a look at the front panel. That may help, I think, at this point. So this is the front panel. Look at all that. Sliders, buttons, switches, all sorts of stuff in there. Yeah. Very interesting. So I got that. It came with a few cables, because it also does MIDI, and it has these interesting TRS MIDI adapters. Came with a couple of patch cables, which is always welcome. And then otherwise, bags of stuff. Knobs, things, chips and that. All this sort of garbage. Now, the build guide is available for both PCBs on the website, so that's what I'm going to be looking at to take me through this, and hopefully there'll be no hiccups along the way. I mean, who knows, this is me here. I'm the master of hiccups, the king of falling into those unexpected traps and tripping over those tripwires. That's what I'm best at, that's what I'm here for. So hopefully that when you get to do yours, you won't run into any of the issues that I run into. Hopefully. So how do we start? I don't know. Well, let's start with the littler one, because just in case I don't really have the time to do this afternoon, then at least I'll get one chunk of it done. That might be worthwhile. So I'm going to put this one to one side with the front panel, and let's have a look at what the build guide says. Okay, the first thing it says, right, is solder all the resistors, taking care to put them in the right place according to the BOM. Now, I don't have the BOM. Now, the BOM is also something you can download, but rather than swapping between two things, I think I'm going to print that out, as that might make my life easier. And I'm in my favourite place of having no labels on resistors, which means I'm going to have to work out the colours all by myself. Ta-da! Now, other than my printer being just completely awesome at missing chunks out for no reason, I would like to declare the awesomeness of this. Look, look, look! Colours! Colours on the BOM! So I'm not going to have to sit here and try to work out the bands and then measure it against something on the website or try to use a multimeter on it. They're listed here, which is brilliant. Thank goodness. Hurrah! Hurrah, hurrah! I would like to be upstanding for RYK and the awesomeness of that. Oh, that's flipping brilliant, that is. Right, I'm a happy bunny. Let's get on with it. So you don't need me to sit here and talk to you while I solder in a bunch of resistors. No, I'll see you on the other end. Well, that was nice. That was a nice time. You know, if you've had a week like mine, or a day like mine. But anyway, there's something going on with resistor number 15 on here. You seem to have to solder 15 onto sort of the end of that diode, as far as I can work out. Okay, we'll get to that in a minute. Maybe I'll do that a bit slowly. I don't know. So it says stage 2, open bag B. Bag B. So a whole load of diodes. Some 3-pronged LEDs. These fellas. Alright, capacitors and stuff. Right, got it. Try to keep those ones separate. So it says solder all of the 1N414 diodes. Now, do I have this on my list here? So on here, or even though I've got an enormous strip of these things, for this board, there's only 4. And it says that D5 is mislabeled. So D5 is marked over here, as well as down here. So it should be this bit, which is also labelled D5. This is D6, which we'll come on to in a moment. Let's get this one in. So D1, D3, D4, D5 down here, going that way. Now for this extra resistor, what they want you to do is plug it in that side and then bend it round and solder it onto here. Okay. Yeah, well, let's secure it over here first. Oh! Yeah, no, that wasn't quite what I was expecting. Then this over here, presumably try not to cross the streams of 17. Let's see if I can get some solder in here somehow. So I'll hold that against there. Yeah, but how do I do it? And then how do I bend it against it and have it stay? That's the question. So maybe what I need to do. Oh, it is. That's on. Look at that. Somehow I did it. Look at that. Is that what they were after? Let's hope so, eh? I imagine if something doesn't work, this is the first place we're going to look. Now with the other two diodes, big thick chunky ones, these two, these need to be soldered vertically. So there's the stripe, so the stripe needs to go down to that. That needs to be bent over like that to go in here. And the other one, so that then goes with the white stripe like that. Alright, bit weird. Okay, more from bag B. Ceramic capacitor discs, which are orange, making sure the correct values. Oh dear. Then the propylene ones, the blue ones. Again, correct values. And then the electrolytic capacitors, long leg, positive. Right. So yeah, time to put some music on, and I'll see you in a bit. Right, on to the ICs now. RYK doesn't really believe in IC holders. He likes to solder directly to the board. So I guess that's what we'll have to do. There is one that has a holder. Don't know why that one's special. Maybe it's the one that's the most likely to need to be changed for firmware reasons, or I don't know, that sort of thing. But otherwise, just going to solder straight to the board. Oh yes. Oh yes. Where's my tool? Here's my tool. That is looking pretty fine. It's looking pretty fine. That's all on there. Not too bad on the back. I'm getting right like quick at this soldering lark, you know. Now, bag C, it says. Starting to get into these bits and pieces here. Trims, aha, which are these. Make sure the adjustment screw is facing the edge of the board. Yeah, duh. Right. And then you want the power socket. Bag C. So the trimmers go on this bottom edge of the board here. VR1, VR2. Now did you see how I was using masking tape after all this time? So many people have been saying, oh, you should use masking tape, you should use blue tack. It's only for holding them down, so I'm not fussing around with bits of foam and whatnot. When I turn it over like that, you see, and it's not a bad idea. You know, that's worked quite well. I mean, my excuse has simply been, I just don't have it to hand. But this time, I did have it to hand. So, I did it. And does it make my life easier? Yes. Slightly less comical? Yes. But I guess it's a sign of gradual maturity. Look, they're not even too bad. Not too bad. Right, the power socket thing is this one, I think. I can never quite work out which way up it's supposed to go. That way, I guess. Doesn't really matter what it does because you're putting a socket thing on it, aren't you? You div. Right, okay. Still need a little bit of something behind it though, I always think. Just to push it in. Because masking tape can only do so much. And this needs to be flat in order to get the plug in correctly. Now let's just check that out. See, it's on a wonk. See, that wouldn't have happened if I'd listened to myself. Oh dear. So I've now got to try to straighten that as best I can. See, that's better. Got away with it. Got away with it. Got away with it. Yeah, I mean it's a little wonky, but it's all right. It's good enough. Good enough for me, I think. Yeah, good enough for me. Right. Nearly there, I think, on this board. So 2 male headers to be placed on the underside of the PCB. So flip it over and insert them. Male headers, right. Not like that. Then there's a bit of a typo. If you're building this PCB first, then follow the instructions below in step 2. If you're building this PCB first, then insert it into the headers on the one you've already assembled. So it doesn't really mean that. So this is going to go into here. So I'm going to hold that there, turn this over. Yeah, I know. Where's your masking tape? Huh? Then solder opposite corners, check that it is flat. Yeah, pretty good. Let's do the rest of that. Right, now we've got this little bugger. It goes on this big pad here. Sort of looks a bit dubious. Now it says, with the soldering iron, apply a small blob of solder onto the large square pad. Okay. Small blobs of solder onto 2 little pads. Place the IC lining up and apply the iron and solder to the large square and then the 2 smaller parts. Well, I don't know. I think I need to sort of do that first, don't I? I've sort of done that. So check the solder has flown underneath and it's securely in place. So how am I supposed to heat that up is kind of my question at this point. Sort of down there. Can you see that? I mean, there really wasn't any space to get underneath there. I don't quite understand that. But it seems to be there. I mean, it's firmly fixed. It's firmly fixed. So is that good? Is that bad? I don't know. That's a little bit of a weird one, I have to say. But I don't know. It looks like it's on there. Right, that seems to be the end of this board. Let's see if there's anything obvious that's missing. Doesn't appear to be. Don't have any bits left. No, the rest of it, LEDs and stuff, are all going to be for the other part, I think. Good. So that's that board accomplished, I think, even with a little bit of weirdness on the other side. That's the control board, the main board, I suppose. And then this is going to be the front panel. It doesn't look too difficult. So that I will do next. Good morning, day 2. It's time to do this board, the front panel hardware what's it board. So it starts off back into bag B. Now I've already got everything more or less emptied all over the place. I have to do all of the diodes, of which there are plenty. So that's this lot. So yeah, I'm going to get on with those, and also after that all the resistors, and I will see you at the other end of that. Rats, I seem to have done something wrong. Got to the end of placing the resistors on here, and I'm left, well, I've got one left over. I'm not too worried about that at the moment. I'll look into that in a minute. But I have this one, which is a 20k, and on the BOM it should be a 220 220 ohm resistor. I have a 20k one left. So checking back through the BOM of this board, it turns out that the really annoying resistor, resistor 15, that does this strange backwards loop over itself, I've actually put the wrong one in. I've put in a 220 when it should have been a 20k. See? Red, red, black, black, brown. Red, red, black, black, brown is a 220. Whereas a 20k is red, black, black, red, which is what this one here is. Red, black, black, red. So this little bugger should be the R15 on here, and this R15 should be on this board. God, gee, flipping whiz. So right, I'm going to have to do a little bit of pulling things apart. So I'm going to have to pull this out of here. I mean, as it happens, I've got this nice big long leg on it because it's got this weird, you know what I'm talking about, because it's here. So I should be able to get this one out relatively easily and have a little bit of leg to play with, perhaps, when I desolder it. What's that down? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. It's the third one. So, oh, I'm sure, every time I have to do this, I think, oh, there's probably a better way of trying to pull something out of something. But I'm just making it up as I go. There we go. But let me solder sucker out the stuff that's left there. So I've got a nice clean hole. Misses. So that should go in there. And then do this weird thing across there. That looks good. Let's solder the heck out of that. Okay, then meanwhile, back over on this board, I've got to get this into R12. Good. Crisis averted. I'll get back on with my soldering. Yeah, looking good. Looking good. Unlike me, looking like a hedge backwards. Who cares? I still do have a 1K resistor left. Now, as far as I can see, I've placed all the resistors. There's no space that I can see on the other board, and there's no 1K resistors on this board, and also no spaces for it. So I'm going to take or make the assumption that it's a spare. It's a spare, I think it's okay to think that. So I'm going to go with that. Right. This is the point of putting on the headers, these two things here. These two bits, which form the connection to the other board. So it suggests that if I've made the other board, which I have, then I should put these onto here, and that will help make sure that the alignment is good, which makes sense. If I can actually get those on there without them pinning themselves into me. Ouch, like that. So these then go where exactly? On the this way up? I saw this. Oh, these are placed on the underside and soldered from the top side. Okay. So they go like that. Which way round are they going to go? Does it matter? I wonder. Well, of course it's going to flipping matter. Of course it's going to matter. What am I talking about? How do I know which way round this is going to go? I think that looks good. If I were to put it round the other way, yeah, if I was to put it round the other way, it would be offset. Yeah. So I'm going to make a massive leap to say that it must be this way around. Has to be this way around. Can only be this way around. Good, good. Let me solder that. So now I'm going to have to take this off again, I expect. Oh. Yeah, okay, that worked all right. Good. Right, next up is all the sliders from bag D. So 16 8-way slide switches, making sure they are firmly seated. They seem to have a way up. Now if you can see on here, there's a bunch of kind of holes that would give you an orientation. Now there's no mention that they should be one way up or another. Does it matter? Is it like a resistor switching? Looking at the photo of the board, as far as I can see, it looks like all the holes go towards the top. So this way round. So this seems to be the top. That's what I'm going to go for. Now these go in with a little bit of pressure. So down this end I will put them to the bottom, but still have them in the same orientation. Oh, I've messed two off. I thought I might have some left. But no, these two over here I've completely managed to miss. What's that about? Good. And I'll do a bit more soldering. Yes! Nice slidery things. Of course not sliders, are switches. 8-way switches. 8-way switches all become clear at some point, I imagine, as to what they actually do. Now I've got a couple of these little switches to put on. Little 3-way switches. Now these actually go one way round because of the way the holes are. So they can only go one particular way round. Assuming you can actually get them to fit. Yeah. Oh, bent pin. Then a couple of little ones that I probably should have put on before, but I'm not going to worry about it. They go... not sure where they go. They go on this side. Oh, well, I never did. They appear to be something to do with MIDI. MIDI TRS. No clue on the orientation if that's important. And for this, I might have to use a little bit of my tape. This switch here doesn't look straight. I mean, it might just be an optical illusion, but they all look a little bit just slightly wonky. See what happens when we put the front plate on. Right, next are the 6 jack sockets, it says. So it's going to be these green things and these black things. Black is 1, 2 and 3, green is 4, 5 and 6. Presumably they're somehow different. And these are shorter. See, there hasn't really been any thought put into the height of these things. I mean, I always find it interesting how, I guess, manufacturers or people putting these things together, or people who build modules all the time, they must do it in a certain way that means that the height is less important. Maybe they've put it into a machine, or they're clamping it somehow, or they have some other method of keeping this all together. Because when I try to turn this over and solder it, they're just all going to fall out. So I'm having to come up with, not necessarily innovative, but having to come up with ways of dealing with it. And there's probably clever ways that my comments are always full of that I just completely ignore. Ah, okay. That might... oh, I need to keep that in there. That might have worked. Should have worked. Could have worked. Yeah. Oh, it says that you insert them into the PCB one by one, push them flush against the PCB with one hand, while soldering on the other. Can you imagine? Can you imagine me doing that? So you're just going to hold it onto the PCB and then somehow solder. Because what's missing is some kind of module making soldering device that I'm supposed to have. Of course I'm supposed to have that kind of device. But do I? No, heckers like, do I? Don't have the space for it as much as anything else. I'm just going to have to make my own way of holding things in place. But there we go. That's alright. People have different ways of doing things. Next, it's the Rotary 8-way switch. This fella here. Ooh. Make sure they're straight, all the legs. Yeah, alright, fairly. Before inserting, make sure the orientation is correct so that the center pin is located in the upper hole. This is here. Center pin, upper hole. With the square pad. Square pad, upper hole, that's the pin they must be talking about. So that has to go in like that. Now that feels fairly good. Now if I had 3 hands, it would be perfect. Perfect, but I don't. So I'm going to put that down. That looks pretty flush to me. I'm going to stick a bit of solder on it. Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's good, it's good. Plastic studs. Hang on. Were there plastic studs? Oh no, insert the switch. Flush. Making sure all the little plastic studs lined up with the holes. If they do not, give the switch a wiggle to align them correctly. Ah, did I do that wrong? I didn't really see much in the way of plastic studs. Well, I can't take it off. It's done, it's done. If it's done, it's done. So 11 pots, which is bag E. I've still got all these bits to do. Haven't got to those yet. Now it's suggesting that I do the pots next, but the pots are much taller than these buttons, so I think I'm going to elect to do these buttons first. Correct colour for each switch, yes. So I've got blue, blue, grey and red. Orientation is so the flat side towards the bottom. So 2 blues. This great big knob here is going to ruin everything anyway. Is that going to work? It's not going to be quite tall enough, is it? That might work. That looks pretty good. Go with that. Just go with it. Quickly tag it down. Yeah, super. Super. Right, now back up to those pots. There are 11 potentiometers, 10 and 1 meg. Right. So, which is the other one then? B503. Okay, that's a 10. 105. That should be the 1. 503. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes, good. Excellent. Insert them into the board so they snap. Check they're all flush. This point you could put on the panel. Tighten up some of the nuts. Useful way to make sure they're aligned. Alright, we'll give that a go. So, let's put in VR3 first, which is this one. VR3 is this one here. Good. Then the rest are all the same. worth pushing on them quite hard because they do get a bit unruly. So then they're suggesting that this should go on. Perfect, look at that. Oh, there we go. There we go. Those switches down here, they're the ones I'm worried about. So it's saying that we could put a couple of screws on. You don't want to do it tight, otherwise it starts pulling stuff out. But right, I'll see you once I've soldered in all those pots. So I know that this fits right. I can take it off. Yes, I can. Right, so then I was supposed to do the switches, but I did those first because I'm awesome like that. And this says about, there's a spacer. Use the short M3 screw. I don't know, I guess it'll have to be one of the shorter ones. That pops in there. And screws onto this underneath. So let's apply some Loctite or nail varnish to the screw head. Oh, right, that's seems a bit odd to me. I'll make it as tight as I can. Familiarise yourself with the LEDs. Yeah, alright then, here we go. Got the hang of that? They have 3 legs. One central long one, one medium, one short. The orientation of the LEDs is important. On the PCB where LED is indicated, there are small letters surrounding the solder pads to indicate the orientation. L for long, M for medium. Central leg is the longest. Insert all the LEDs in their positions. Double check they are correctly as above, but do not solder. Right. LED, there's an LED there. So, as it says, M, you see that on there? M and S. So, medium and small. See, it's funny because he says it would say long and medium, but long is the middle leg. So that doesn't make any sense. So it actually says medium and small. So that's an update you can do to the old build guide there. Long in the middle, medium and small. Pop that in. So here, it's medium to the left. And medium to the left. Okay, now we assemble the panel, taking care to line up again, lower the panel on the controls. So essentially we need to put this over here again, like we did before, to then sort out the LEDs. These have all got to come up through there, like so. Now the problem is always getting them to stay there. Now you can use a bit of masking tape for this, which I might do. I'm just going to see how it goes like this, because the problem with masking tape is then you tend to make them flush, and these ones actually look like they want to come through. Only solder one leg of it first, then flip it over to check. Oh yeah, alright. Look pretty great. Look pretty great to me. Alright, solder the rest of them then. I can feel us getting towards the end. Final assembly. When they're finished, double check the PCB pads carefully. Look at the joints, make sure there are no solder bridges. Then there's a bit of calibration to go. So I'm just looking for bridges. So bits where solder has managed to go a leap across a gap. I'm looking for bits that I forgot to solder. That's looking good. Look at the other one. What the heck is that? Alright. Some kind of something there. Okay, I think I've slightly melted the board somewhere. I think that's all that is. Hopefully that's not a problem. Right, well, so this goes this way up or something, because I don't know. What does it say? So the power euro header is at the top side of the panel PCB. What? Now connect the main onto the panel. Orientate the main PCB so that the euro power header here, is at the top side of the panel. Top side. Right, so this side, top side. Yeah. Screw the boards together with the other little screw. Before putting the knobs on, it's a good idea to check everything is working. Well, I'm not going to plug it in right now because I don't have the time to look at that. But there's a fair little bit of testing and calibration to do. So I'm just going to put the rest of these screws on. Smashing. No knobs yet, but really nearly there. So I'm going to do a little bit of testing. Stick the knobs back on. Calibration and stuff. All my favourite things. And then that's a good job. It's fairly deep, I would say. We'll leave it there. I'll be back again later. Right, day 3. Here we are, back to the M185, and it's time for calibration and testing. Now it says don't put the knobs on before testing. Check that it works first. Only I suppose that's because you might yet have to take the whole thing apart. So I haven't turned it on, I haven't done anything. I've plugged it in, it's now in a little bit of a case. I'm kind of ready. I think I'm ready. Oh, I hope this works. I've got like a 100% pass rate so far. Okay, right, so we've connected it. We've connected it together. Red stripe is aligned, it's plugged in. First you will need to calibrate the CV outputs for 1 volt per octave scaling. Right, okay. Set the voltage mode control, which I think is this one here, to the 5 VQ position. 5 VQ. Connect a patch cable from channel 1 CV output socket. Channel 1. So that's the one with the little mounting on it. Okay. Cable inserted. Connect the other end to a digital multimeter. Right. Multimeter. Ring of the patch cable to black lead. Yeah. Tip to red lead. Yeah. Set the meter to measure DC volts in a range of 20 volts. I have no idea how to set the range on this thing. But anyway, don't worry about that. Switch on the power whilst holding down the grey start stop button. So holding the button, turn the thing on. Now we're going to be watching for smoke and flashes. Oh, look at that! I got a whole bunch of things go on. That was exciting. Okay, if it's all working, you should see red and green LEs animate from left to right in both directions 4 times. After, release the button and 1 green LED should remain lit. Well, not quite, but close. I don't know what that means. 2 should equal 2 volts. This is not making a whole lot of sense. Alright, I think this has lost it. Right, new battery in the multimeter. What am I supposed to do with that? They're all high. I'm getting minus 0.5 out from there. So, I I don't have any clue. So yeah, I've run into some trouble. Ran into a bit of trouble. I can't seem to get pitch out. Can't get pitch out of the CV out. So pitch comes out of here. Put it into my little scope. And I honestly get nothing. Nothing at all, no matter what I change. It's very frustrating. The gating bit appears to work. If I turn this up so you can hear it a little bit. I might have got somewhere. What I did is I took the thing apart and I put my thing on and I just went through every single joint, having a look, having another look, having another look. And it seemed to me that particularly around IC3 seemed to be perhaps not as much solder as there could be. I mean, I tend to put on loads of solder, and so there was a little bit kind of not so much in a few places. So I just went through and I added a few other bits of solder into places that just seemed to not have as much as others. And put it back together. And I got something going on. Now I haven't finished the calibration yet, so that's what I'm going to try to do next. Try to do now to show you what that's about, with a bit of luck, because it's still a little bit kind of, whoa, I don't really know. So let me do that and see where we get to, and hopefully I'll have a properly finished thing this time. So in order to do calibration, what you do is you turn it on to calibration mode, which is to hold the grey button as you power it on. Then you should get one flashing green and one steady red. If you move it around with the stage knob, that's this big 8 switch here, 1 to 8 stages is what you select with the green light. The red light is showing something else depending on what it is you're currently testing. So we plug a cable into the CV channel 1 output. So set it to the 5VQ position. Connect a patch cable from channel 1 and connect the other end to a digital multimeter. So black round the outside, red round the top. Like so. So 1 should be 1 volt and it's 1.4. 2 should be 2, it's 2.8. 4.3, 5 point something or other, and then the rest should stay around that, which I don't fully understand. It should go up in a volt 1 to 5. Then why is it 5 after that? I really don't know. You'll probably notice from my tone that I'm a bit frazzled. Set the max stage switch to 5. Oh, now this wasn't in the other instructions. Now there's 2 sets of calibration instructions. One of them is in the build guide, which is I was originally following, and the other one is in the manual. The ones in the manual are the most up to date because they're different. So you've got to set this to 5. It didn't say that in the other one. 2, 3, 4, 5. Right. To adjust the CV range for channel 1, set the max stage switch to 5 and adjust the trimmer until the multimeter reads 5. Okay, definitely different. So the trimmer's here. I'm hoping it's going to change something. Yeah, it's coming down, it's coming down. 5 volts, oh my goodness. Now if I change that down to 4, that should be on 4, 3, 2, and 1. Near as damn it, that'll do for me. That's good enough for me. Oh my goodness. Then put it into channel 2, which I think is this one. I haven't quite mastered the whole where channel 2 is and how you work that yet, but I'm not going to worry about it. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 on 5 volts. That looks awesome. Right. Whew. Right, hardware test. You can check the values read by the stage CV pots and switches to test their functioning correctly. Turn max stage's switch to select the desired stage to test. Alright, we'll go testing number 1. Use the sequencer mode control, which is this top one here. You can select which type of pot or switch to check. So to check the CV potentiometer, rotate the pot. If it's functioning correctly, the red LEDs here will light up from left to right. So that's on that arrow. So if I turn this, you see, if I turn this knob, the lights go up and back down. Good. Then switch the sequencer mode to the next one, the one that arrow backwards and forwards, and you should be able to move the switch and the light should move for the switch selection. Yes, it does. Go to the next one, which is the question mark, and you should be able to do the same on here. 1 to 8. Yeah? Simples. So yeah. Now what's important is that it's working. Okay, that's all I care about at the moment. I'm going to do a proper demo of it. In fact, I'm going to do a nice big long video on how you use the bugger, and I think later, maybe either tonight or tomorrow, I'll do a bit of a demo to finish this build video off with. But for now I need to go and have a lie down somewhere, have a cup of tea or something, and just celebrate the fact that it's there. I also need to put the knobs on. That would be nice, putting the knobs on and bits and pieces like that, because that's definitely a thing. So phew, great, I got there. Right, back again, day 26. Oh, I don't know what day we're on now. Day 4, maybe. It's another day. Anyway, yesterday I had a fair bit of trouble. I had to do some troubleshooting. I just couldn't get pitch. I mean, it's not that important in a sequencer, getting pitch out, but I was getting nothing in that regard. Thankfully, after a little bit of focus and a little bit of re-soldering, so ultimately it was my fault for not quite soldering a few things right, which reminds me, and to remind you, that you do need to go through it. Look very, very carefully, because there may be bits that are just not quite right, and I found a few of those and I was able to do it, and now it works, and this is exactly what I've been after. Exactly. It's this brilliant thing. It's this brilliant thing where you've not just got 8 notes going round. Each note, sort of each step decides what it's going to do. Sometimes it hangs around. Sometimes it moves on. Sometimes it does a long one. Sometimes it does one and then comes off and then does another one. It's just the most awesome thing. But I've got no idea how many steps I've got now. Does it matter? So intoxicating. It just pulls you into play, and you just keep going. I mean, how am I ever going to then do anything else? Because I'm going to spend all my time just messing around with this. Those are the sort of problems you want when there's too much creativity and you're having to try and navigate which stream of creativity to use next. Yeah. All right. Well, this video is not focusing on the playing and demonstration of this. I will do that in another video. You know, give me a week to play with it, to spend some time with it, and then I'll do a proper video on how you use it and what you do with it. Although it does get pretty self-explanatory really, really quick. There's a lovely amount of intuitiveness about it, and that's my favourite thing. There's other things which I don't yet understand, which I'll get down to, but just the 8 notes, the gating, the repeating, the pitching, fabulous, fantastic. But I'm not done yet, sadly. I'm not there yet. I can't quite finish this enormously long DIY build video because there's one last thing, and that's a firmware update. Damn it. So how do I do that? Well, I've got to squirt some MIDI sysx into it, so I thought I would at least go through that on camera so that I can show you the nightmare. so I can show you how smoothly that goes. So how do we do that? I mean, there's nothing wrong with it as it is. Apparently, your man at RYK, whichever way around it is, has fixed something which wasn't quite right, and so there's a new firmware update that I can throw in it, and so I will do that. So as I said, it's MIDI sysx, and that needs to go in via one of these here MIDI adapter cables, but you have to have a computer with a MIDI output in order to achieve this, or you may have some other magical way of doing it. I don't know any magical ways. I'm just going to go with the way that I'm aware of, which is to use MIDI aux on Windows, if that still exists. I'm assuming it still exists, and something which has a MIDI output. So that's my task for this moment. So meanwhile, MIDI aux, which is this ancient piece of software which is still extraordinarily helpful. Oh look, it's for Windows 95, 98 and ME. Let's get the version for Windows 2000, shall we, and Windows NT. That's probably going to be the one. So according to the instructions, firmware upload. Hold the reset button while powering up. Firmware supplied in 2 files. Need a computer with a MIDI connection. Use MIDI aux or sysx librarian on the Mac. Connect the MIDI cable from your computer to the supplied MIDI TRS cable. Connect to the MIDI in. Choose the sysx file to send, and when transmitting, a 3rd red LED should light up. When finished, a 4th should light up. Turn off the power, then hold the reset button and do the same with the B file. Alright, okay, so MIDI output on here, MIDI out, MIDI input on here. Now I've got to turn on while holding the reset button, which is the red one. 2 leftmost LEDs. Right, let me bring you in so you can see this a little bit better. Now, how the heck do you use this piece of software? Right, first, options, MIDI devices. Select your MIDI output. So Motu, MIDI out to MIDI in. Good. Did that bit. Right. Actions. Send. Sysx file. Open it up. Number A. Open. Nothing's going on. Nothing's going on at all. Because as far as I know, this has all been sent. One MIDI output. Monitor says output. Right, day 43. I think I've cracked it. Now this, I mean, it's nobody's fault. I'm not trying to be down on anybody. It's just that people who make modules don't often understand how hard it is to interpret their instructions, or don't know instinctively what everything is and what everything means. So I guess part of what I'm trying to do here is to help people who just run up against walls and go, I don't even know what to do. I mean, I've just spent the last half an hour going, I don't really know what to do, because I can't get the firmware to update. Because I mean, I'm not sure what I'm doing in MIDI aux entirely, or my brain's going, oh, I remember this. Okay, I found the right things to do. I'm then plugging it in, but then it doesn't appear to be working. So how can I test that? I then need to dig out something with which I can plug my MIDI cable into to see if, does that work? Yeah, okay, that seems to be working. Then plug it back into here, and can I get MIDI sync to work? Because there's no flashing lights that tell me something is going to work with MIDI as far as I know. And can I get that? I can't seem to get that to work. It's like, oh! It's just maddening. Absolutely maddening. Do you know what the answer is? Well, the answer is that very cleverly what they've done is included a switch on the back of the module to allow you to use both Type A and Type B MIDI adapter cables, which are these things, these TRS things, yeah? MIDI adapter cables. There's a Type A and there's a Type B, and they're different, and we hate it. Everybody in the world hates it. It's different and it pisses everybody off, me as much as anybody else. But it's a brilliant idea having TRS MIDI. It's just completely screwed because no one decided on a format, and now we're all just messed up. And that's a shame, because it's a beautiful thing. It's just not quite beautiful. Anyway, so he included a switch on the back so you could use both types. Awesome. but he didn't tell you what type this is or what the switch means. So you might have remembered in the build I found these two little micro switches that I installed on the back that had something to do with MIDI, and it's those that swap between type A and type B. Now the man says that these are type A, so it was set to 1. It seemed to be sensible to set it to 1. I tried all that out and it's not. It's not what that is. You have to set it to 2. So I finally stumbled upon what those switches are for. I've now set it to 2 on the back, and that now seems to work with the included cable. Vital piece of flipping information. So anyway, I'm going to plug that into 1. Now I've already done half of it in my fiddle faffling around, so you've missed that bit. I'm sorry. But I now know that it works. I can do the second part of the firmware update and I can show you that. So this is plugged in, yeah, MIDI from my MIDI interface, which is here. Just to reiterate, MIDI interface, MIDI on the back, going to MIDI in on here. The supplied cable that came with my M185, I don't care what type it is. All I know is that on the back of this, which I will show you, getting this out carefully without killing myself, is these 2 micro switches on the back here. There, got it? Got it now. See that on there? Yeah, nice. It says MIDI TRS. You see, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense now. I know what that means now. I did have it set to 1. That's not right. I've now set it to 2. Now, of course, you may get the complete reverse cable, in which case you set it to 1. So I guess what I'm saying is, if it doesn't work, go to this micro switch, change it, and then see if that works. God damn it. Oh dear, some things drive it at all. I've had one of those days. I mean, I've had printers go stupid today. Well, printers go stupid every day. Every day, printers are like goldfish. They go, oh, am I printing? Am I a printer? Do I have ink? Am I on this network? I have no idea. I seem to have gone to sleep. Oh, I'm offline. Am I online? Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. It's just been one of those things. I just want to make some music, and anyway. So yeah, that's all plugged in. That's all right now. So back to MIDI aux. Let me bring you in, folks, and we can just nail it. Nail it. We're just gonna nail this, right? Come here. It's stuck on a thing. Oh my goodness. So, got that? Yeah. So MIDI aux. I've gone full screen. That's how terrible it is. So what do? You go to Options, MIDI devices, select your MIDI output that you are using, that you've connected to here. Put your module into ready to receive. So I've already done the first half. I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to hold the reset button, turn it on. I've got 2 little lights. I then go Actions, Send, sysx file. I'm opening up the second half. So when you do this, you load the first one, you do it, turn off, turn on with the reset button, and do the second one. Same process for each. Do each separately. So I'm now doing the second one. I press open, it will load it, it'll do this, you'll get lights here. Now I didn't get the lights as the man in the manual says. I don't get exactly what it says. It says that when it's finished, a 4th LED will light up. Well, that's not what happened. At the end of mine, it says flash, 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 and then all the lights came on, and now it's acting normally. So whether it's worked or not, I have no clue. No clue. But I think I've had enough of messing with this now. So I'm going to give you that information. If that's helpful or not, I don't know. And I'm going to move on with my life. So hopefully, after all that, everything is still working. What bit is that? That's voltage out. And that's gate. So there you have it. What a fantastic module. The build, as far as the build goes, the build was relatively straightforward. It took quite a bit of time, I have to say. It took a little bit of time, and I had a little bit of trouble. That was mostly my fault, as in soldering not really quite being up to speed, but also there was some wrangling and messing about with the manual and the build guide. But hopefully I've demonstrated all the troubles that you might possibly or possibly not hit. I don't know. So there you go. But the module is flipping phenomenal. I'm going to thoroughly enjoy this. It's exactly what I hoped it would be, and more. So do look out for the video that I'm going to be doing soon, taking you through all of the features, all of the functionality, my thoughts on it, and how fabulous, and also pointing out the weirdness and the strangeness and those sorts of things. So we'll get together and have a really good, thorough examination of this module sometime very soon. So do look out for that. In the meantime, thanks for watching. I hope that's been helpful. Keep soldering stuff, because that's immensely enjoyable way to spend your time. And in the meantime, go make some tunes.